Some video games define like an entire genre. Other ones become so influential that decades later, developers are still building new experiences around those ideas. Then, however, there are these truly rare masterpieces that actually accomplish both of those while somehow feeling timeless every time someone returns to them. Their graphics may belong to another era, but their atmosphere, world design, music, and just sense of discovery never seem to grow old. Instead, they become richer with every revisit because players notice details they somehow missed the first time, and the second time, or the 10th time. I'm gonna be honest, almost no other game represents that idea better than Castlevania Symphony of the Night. It was released in 1997 for the original PlayStation, developed by Konami. Symphony of the Night completely changed what players expected from the Castlevania series. Earlier games because focus on straightforward action and challenging platformer, but this adventure introduced a vast interconnected castle which was just filled with these hidden pathways, some really powerful equipments, lots of abilities, memorable bosses, and just an incredible amount of player freedom. Whereas instead of controlling a Belmont, players stepped into the role of Alucard, which was basically Dracula's son, who entered to stop his father's castle from consuming the world once again. Then what followed became one of the most celebrated action games ever created, and also one of the defining titles behind the genre now commonly known as Metroidvania. That legacy naturally leads to one question fans have been asking for years, which is what if Symphony of the Night received a complete modern remake? Well, Konami has never officially announced a full remake or even a remaster of the Symphony of the Night. The game has been re-released on multiple platforms over the years and remains widely available, but a ground-up remake is actually never in an official development, at least publicly. Rumors and fan speculations appear regularly, especially knowing Konami's successful revival of Silent Hill 2 and its renowned focus on classic franchises, yet nothing has been confirmed for this. Even so, imagining that possibility feels almost inevitable, not because the original needs to be replaced, quite the opposite. It remains one of the greatest games ever made. A remake would exist for a completely different reason, which is to allow one of gaming's most extraordinary worlds to finally exist without the technical limitations of the late 90s. Like, imagine the adventure in complete darkness now. No title screen, no immediate narration, only silence. Gradually, faint candlelights begin illuminating enormous stone hallways inside Dracula's castle, then dust all drift through cold air untouched for centuries, and the camera is slowly moving through forgotten libraries, abandoned chapels, shattered stained glass windows. Then there stands Alucard. He doesn't announce himself, he doesn't draw attention, he just simply watches the moon in silence before quietly turning toward the castle that once belonged to his father. I think that sort of opening captures something Symphony of the Night always understood better than most games. Atmosphere doesn't come from constant action, it comes from patience. So a remake should preserve that philosophy above everything else. Dracula's castles never felt like an ordinary level. It feels alive, not literally though, spiritually. Every hallway suggests centuries of just forgotten history, every staircase seems to lead somewhere impossible, every hidden chamber raises another question about who built this place and how many souls have disappeared inside it over the countless generations. Modern technology could finally realize that vision completely. Every room handcrafted, not randomly generated, every location quietly now telling another piece of the castle's history. Movement firsthand deserves extraordinary care this time because Alucard's always been one of the gaming's most elegant protagonists. Where unlike many action heroes who rely on force, Alucard moves with supernatural precision. Every sword swing feels effortless, every leap appears graceful, every transformation into mist, bat, or wolf reflects complete mastery rather than raw strength, unless you had that, great sword that used to move by itself. A remake should emphasize that elegance. Where nothing now feels mechanical, everything flowing in motion. Combat should evolve carefully without abandoning what made the original unforgettable. You see, Symphony of the Night succeeded because players constantly experimented with different weapons, different spells, shields, familiars, and magical abilities all together. A remake should preserve that freedom while making every weapon category feel genuinely unique now. Long swords prioritize reach, rapiers reward precision, massive greatswords sacrifice speed for some devastating impact, and then magic complementing physical combat rather than just replacing it. Every build developing its own identity, where players naturally create their own version of Alucard. Not to mention, the progression system deserves similar respect. One reason, in fact, players still replay Symphony of the Night decades later, besides the music, is because exploration constantly rewards curiosity. So a remake should never simplify that sense of discovery. The castle should remain mysterious. Players should occasionally become lost, not because the design is confusing, because just curiosity deserves rewarding. On top of that, then environmental storytelling could become extraordinary. Nothing needs a lengthy explanation. The castle speaks through its own architecture. Music, however, may represent the remake's greatest responsibility. The guy who made the original soundtrack remains one of the finest scores ever composed for a video game. I was actually listening to the original soundtrack earlier this morning. Every piece perfectly balanced gothic horror, classical music, jazz influence, rock, and haunting melodies into something completely unique. Modern music should never replace those themes. It should basically celebrate them. What I mean is that music becomes part of the architecture itself. Always present, never overwhelming. The original game introduced these unforgettable enemies because each encounter reflected another part of Dracula's terrifying world. Medusa, Beelzebub, Death, Richter, Belmont, and countless others became memorable through imagination rather than spectacle alone. Modern technology could preserve that creativity beautifully. All things considered, here's the thing. Konami has shown renowned interest in reviving classic franchises, but Dracula's greatest castle continues waiting quietly in darkness. Its gates remains closed until someone eventually decides that the time is right to open them once again. If that day ever arrives, the developers shouldn't approach the project with the goal of reinventing a masterpiece. They should approach it with humility, because some games don't need modern audiences to understand why they matter. They simply need modern technology to reveal even more of the beauty that was already there. A true remake of Castlevania Symphony of the Night would never be about replacing one of gaming's greatest classics. It will be about allowing players to walk through the Dracula's castle once again with the same sense of mystery, wonder, and quite fascination they experienced the very first time. Well, Konami has never officially announced a full remake or even a remaster of the Symphony of the Night. The game has been re-released on multiple platforms over the years and remains widely available, but a ground-up remake is actually never in its official development, at least publicly. Rumors and fan speculations appear regularly, especially knowing Konami's successful revival of Silent Hill 2 and its renowned focus on classic franchises, yet nothing has been confirmed for this. Because some castles aren't remembered for the monsters that lived inside them, they're actually remembered because no one who entered them ever truly forgot the journey back out.